what's it mean to follow Jesus. What we're going to do is look at some of the things that Jesus said that are quite challenging, that we might look at and almost gulp at, and so that's an awful lot to ask. And then think about, what's it mean in practice? What is Jesus calling men and women to do? And think about that in the light of what Jesus did, and then the hope that it can give us going forward. So, we're probably quite comfortable talking about things that are quite nice and sort of warming when we think about the gospel, like the grace, the mercy, or the love of God and of His Son Jesus. And these are things that are good. They're nice to talk about. We like talking about them because they give us comfort and hope. Perhaps we're not so comfortable if you read that verse that you read in Luke 14 just then, when Jesus says in Luke 14 and the verse 33, the last verse we read, He says, well, those of you who do not give up everything that you have cannot be my disciples. So, we might feel a bit put out when we read that verse. But Jesus is asking people, if they want to come and know Him and to accept the gospel message, to give up everything. What, to start like living in poverty? Is this what Jesus is asking for? And you might feel a bit put out. What do you mean? And there was a man in Mark 10 who was certainly put out by what Jesus asked for. There's 5 verses there, but we'll read them, verses 17 to 22. As Jesus was setting out on his journey, a man ran up and knelt before him and asked him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. You know the commandments. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud, honour your father and mother." And he said to him, "Teacher, always I've kept from my youth." So he's saying, I've been a pretty good man. I've kept my morals. I've done what I've been told to do. And Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said to him, "You lack one thing. Go sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Come, follow me." Disheartened by the saying, he went away sorrowful because he had great possessions. So at face value there, Jesus told this man, you've got to sell everything you've got if you're going to come and follow me. You might be a good person. You might be doing what's right. You might be keeping your morals. But if you don't sell what you've got and come and follow me, it's void. And you think, this is big stuff that we're reading here, right? And we'll come back to it in a second. But let's just think for a second about our lives, okay? It's okay when life asks this of us. Jesus is saying to people, if you want to come and follow me, you've got to give up stuff. It's okay, right, when life asks this of us, isn't it? It's okay when maybe it's our careers, right? And we're happy to put all those hours in and maybe sacrifice, being able to get perhaps to all our events each week within our churches. Now, that's fine. Or maybe, perhaps missing out, on things with the kids, perhaps because of work or whatever it might be, or putting whatever our interests and hobbies are over and above, those who are near and dear to us. We have to make sacrifices, right? It's how life works in order to get everything done. And if we took it a step further, okay, it's okay sometimes, and we read all about it, don't we, in the media and stuff about all these, celebrities and whatever. It's okay, right, when, we give up families or whatever for some kind of, adulterous relationship, or if we kind of give up everything that we've got to go off and pursue some wonderful new life in some other country, whatever it might be, right? People make sacrifices. Sometimes they're just small things that you have to do. Other times people are willing to just give up everything that they've got that's close to them. Their family, their children, their friends, all that they've grown up with, to go off maybe with somebody else or for some other new life. The grass is greener, all of that stuff, people are willing to make sacrifices in life. So, is Jesus unrealistic? when he says, going back to that verse we had in Luke 14, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything cannot be my disciple. We're going to come back to in a second, well, what does this really mean, giving up stuff? And there's some other verses that come out in the New Testament about denying yourself. And we're going to come on to those in a second and think, well, what do they really mean in light of the gospel? But just for now, okay, let's stick with the principle, the theory. We all make sacrifices, some small, some big. Jesus is asking for some form of sacrifice here, to give up something for him. Is he unrealistic? I don't think so. Absolutely not. Okay, we get the principle that we do it in our lives. And Jesus is saying, you've got to do the same to come and follow me. Now let's think about Jesus and the sacrifices that he made. Okay, he gave up everything first. Now that's really important, I think, when we look at the gospel message. Jesus gave up everything first. He could have had an incredible, career perhaps as a carpenter, whatever it might have been. He, was a very knowledgeable man, right? He was teaching the temples. He could have gone on to be a very eloquent, hard-working, successful man. But he gave up everything first. And he gave it up right up to the cross, because for I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures. And Philippians talks about how Jesus emptied himself in his life, okay? I have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. But what? He emptied himself by taking on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on the cross. So Jesus gave up everything he could have had in his life. Why? To become, somebody that taught the gospel. He brought disciples to him, and ultimately he laid down his life, the ultimate sacrifice, right up until the cross. So therefore, if Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice and gave up his life on the cross, he then goes on to say, well, I want you to take up your own cross. Okay? I made the ultimate sacrifice on the cross. I gave up everything. I emptied myself. And I'm asking you to come and follow me, and to give up stuff to come and follow me, because it's worth it. And he says, if you're going to come and take up your cross, you've got to deny yourself. Let's think about that for a second. Denying ourselves. What's that mean? It's self-denial, right? It's kind of denying ourselves of things. But is that a list of things that we can and can't do? Is this kind of, people maybe look at Christianity and say, yes, but it's just putting lots of restrictions on your life. You can't do this and you can't do that, and you can't take part in this event or whatever because you're a Christian, and you can't come out drinking with us or whatever because you're a Christian. It can be how it's portrayed sometimes, that you can't do lots of things. Is that really what Jesus is saying? He's saying, well, if you're going to come and follow me, take up your cross, not literally, but figuratively, and a huge list of things you can't do. I think we need to turn this on its head. Okay? Jesus is talking about giving up everything for him. He's talking about denying ourselves for him to come and follow him. And we've used the example that he gave up everything first. Let's turn it on its head. And I think actually this is all about choosing things that are better. It's not just a case of, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's choosing things that are better. Jesus is better. Following him is better. And there's this quote that I found by a Christian author that actually, I think, put it better than I could possibly explain myself. And it talks about the life of a disciple, a follower of Jesus, being one where you deal with everything in ways that draw us nearer to Christ, so that we gain more of Christ and enjoy more of him. And we seek to deal with the things of this world in ways that show that they are not our treasure, but rather that Christ is our treasure. And if we were to lose any or all the things that this world can offer, we will not lose our joy, our treasure, or our life, because Christ is our joy, our treasure, and our life. That's very true. The life of a disciple, of one who follows Jesus, means that everything that we come up against in our life is a situation for us to deal with in light of the fact that we are a follower of Jesus. We deal with every situation, whether it's with our neighbour, at work, in our family lives, within our churches, whatever it might be. We deal with all those situations because we are followers of Jesus in the same way that Jesus would deal with them. And then, if everything was taken away from us and we were living in poverty as such, that we would still not lose our joy and our faith in Jesus Christ. I think this is the life of a disciple, okay? It's dealing with things in a way that Jesus would deal with them, knowing that if everything was to be taken away from us, we would still be, of all people, very happy because we have the gospel. Now, a little visual aid to try and help put this into some perspective. And I used to have a rope to do this with. In the process of moving house, that seems to have gone. So you're going to have to use your imagination slightly. And this is not my visual aid. It's something that is online you may have seen. Now, what would have happened is I would have had a nice rope with a little bit of tape on the end, and it would have gone out the back room or somewhere. And I would have said, imagine that rope goes on forever. You go out this hall, and then it goes round all of Yorkshire, and then it goes all around Europe, and then the world. Just imagine it goes on forever, okay? You have to use your imagination here. Imagine this line goes on forever, okay? That blue line just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, this little orange strip, this is our lives that we live now as men and women in mortal flesh, okay? There's going to be a point when we die, and that's the end of the orange strip. Now, the blue, that is eternity, okay? You're going to imagine that's going on forever. That is eternity. That is life in God's kingdom, that he promises that there is greater things to come. There is everlasting life to come in his kingdom. So, if we are dealing with things now in the way in which Jesus would deal with them, knowing that if we lost everything we had, we would not lose our joy in Jesus Christ, then everything that we are doing in our lives that we live now are going to determine the time when we face a judge to be told, well, how you live your life is going to determine whether you have life in the kingdom or not. So everything that we do in this life is going to determine what happens here. Life or death. Now, some people in their lives might live it and say, well, I'm going to work really, really hard for the majority of my mortal life, knowing that I can enjoy a nice, prosperous retirement for this small bit at the end and not worry about the rest of eternity, because as far as I'm concerned, when I'm dead, I'm dead. And they might say, oh, yeah, you're making sacrifices for your God or for this Jesus that you tell us about. And actually, you have a pretty boring life, right? So no, because actually everything that we do in this life is going to drive what happens for eternity. And so in putting things into perspective, being asked to follow Jesus and to make sacrifices, and some of those are small, some are very big. We know of people that are having to give up they are having to give up their lives, having to leave their homes, they're having to move to new countries for the gospel. But, whatever it is that we have to say, Jesus is better, whatever it is that we have to give up, is worth it, because there is so much more to come. Now, we also have to be realistic, okay? And in Luke 14, where we were, Jesus spoke about counting the cost, okay? And he used examples, okay? He said, if you're going to come and follow me, first count the cost. First make sure that you can do this, okay? Look at the cost, and can you meet that cost? And it's again a big statement, but we have to be realistic. Jesus does not want half-hearted disciples. And he says, well, look, if you're going to go to war, okay, if you were a king who was going to go to war, and you found that you only had 10,000 men, but you're going to come up against 20,000 men, you haven't really counted the cost, have you? You haven't thought, actually, our numbers aren't quite going to meet the numbers that we're facing. We're going to get destroyed. Or equally, you wouldn't start building a tower and then realising, I've run out of money. It's cost, X £100,000 more than I thought it was going to cost. You sit down, do the maths, and say, yeah, I can do this. We all do it, don't we? We need to move house. Well, can I afford that? Can I get the mortgage for that? We count the cost before we jump in with both feet. And Jesus is saying the same thing here. Count the cost before you come and follow me. Rather than putting your hand to the plough and then X number of months or years in saying, it's not worth it for me. But it is worth it, okay? And Jesus made that very clear. He was talking to the Pharisees in the Gospel of John, and he was telling, look, I am the light of the world. You're in darkness right now. I am the light of the world. And all you've got to do is believe in me, and you will have the light of life forever. And they still said, well, no. You are not the Son of God. You are false. You are giving a false witness, they said. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. There is so much more to come by being a follower of Jesus. There is the kingdom to come of better things. And everything that we do in this small part of our lives now is going to drive everything that is to come. We're either going to have life in the kingdom or we're not. And so what does it mean to follow Jesus? Well, it's a huge question. We've only spent 20 odd minutes looking at it, but hopefully we've been able to look at, Jesus does ask for a lot. But it's only fair because he gave up his life for us in the first place. And following him, we've got to count the cost. But there is a hope of greater things, that our lives will not be full of darkness, but they'll be full of life, hope and joy of the kingdom to come.